Nice. Okay, the best camera settings for video to make it more professional and cinematography as well. If you have just bought your camera or you have never shot videos before or you want to notice something new for yourself, then this video will be definitely useful for you. At first I'm going to tell you about manual exposure and then 3 main settings without which you won't be able to shoot cool quality video. And then of course I will show you how to expose your video correctly. Because all these modes with shutter priority or aperture priority or other, it is very cool and convenient, it is out of question of course, but if you want to be a good creator and filmmaker, you are absolutely should to know how to adjust all settings in your camera by yourself. Only after that you will be able to adjust your picture exactly you want. If you are wondering, is this video for any camera manufacturers? Yes. Is it important? Absolutely. Is it hard? No. Do I need to give this video a like and subscribe? I will be grateful for it. And let's get started. Enormously important theory that each decent filmmaker should to know. There are 3 main settings in video shooting: the exposure triangle, the shutter speed, aperture and ISO. There is white balance, another important setting in a camera, but we will surely talk about it in one on the next video, because it is a really large topic. Cause I need not only to tell you about all aspects, but also to show how work with it in absolutely different situations. It is more about temperature and colors in your videos, but today we're going to speak about exactly exposure. And let's start with shutter speed. It is fractional number which you can see below the screen in your camera, 150 or 160 or 1 to 100 and so on. Shutter speed is the speed at which the frame reads from the camera matrix. It has 2 essential rules. The first, it can change the brightness. The second, it creates dramatic effects by freezing action or blurring motion. It works by controlling the action of the camera's shutter. In filmmaking, scenes were usually captured at rates of 24 NTSC or PAL 25 frames per second. Film could be shot at 24 FPS and generally was for theatrical movies, since most cinema projects only run at that speed, but film for television was shot at 25 FPS. I don't think that anyone can tell difference between them, because 24 is typically associated with North America and a few additional countries, and 25 PAL it is well known as international, which I use as well. Unlike still photography, a video without blur can look odd to the viewers. This is because the human eye does see the motion blur. The main rule states that you should keep your shutter open for twice as long as the frame rates of your video. If you're shooting video with 24 FPS, you should open your shutter for 48 seconds. If you are shooting video with 25 FPS, you should open your shutter for 50 seconds. If you are shooting video with 50 FPS or 100 FPS for slow motion, then double 100 and 200. Each subject and its relative speed will need different shutter speed. If your shutter speed is much lower than that, the footage will look blurry, and if it is much higher than that, the footage will look choppy. But you can bend these rules a little bit. For instance, if you are shooting video with 25 FPS, action footage or sports or other dynamic scenes, set it 1 to 70 seconds or 1 to 80 seconds, as a little bit of choppiness can give it a more kinetical feel. But generally speaking, you will want to keep pretty close to those guidelines. It is also related to 50 FPS or 100 FPS if you want to get clear slow-mo. A little bit upper than double, 125 or 150 and 250 or more. Exactly then your shots will look more cinematic and naturally for your viewers. The next one, nonetheless important thing, it is aperture. Exactly this settings allows you to blur your background and separate your subject of shooting from the background and give you more or less light on the matrix of your camera. You can see the number of aperture in your camera like f1.4, 1.8, 2.4 or 4, 5, etc. It is describing the size of the aperture, how open or closed the aperture blades are. The lower number gives more light and more bokeh, the higher number less light on the matrix and more sharpness throughout all the frame. But it is not as prosaic as it seems. For example, I want more bokeh, right? That's why I need to set as much as lower aperture, but no. As a rule, it is bad practice to use a minimal aperture, cause it might be some problems with sharpness or vignetting or any additional artifacts, therefore it will be better to use +1 or at least half f-stop from your minimal aperture. For example, not 1.4 but 1.8, not 2.4 but 3.2 like me now. Yeah, you will lose a little bit in blur of background, but instead of this your subject will be in a good focus with well sharpness and without any additional artifacts. Mainly focus and sharpness. Yeah, it's not a big deal to track me, my face when I sit here in one single place, but if you will shoot someone who will work out or simply walking, your autofocus will work badly cause it will be hard to track someone with so opened aperture blades. Therefore a little bit close, but not much, because we like bokeh. Then ISO. ISO responsible for light sensitivity of the matrix. As higher this value, then lighter your picture, and we are artificially increasing light sensitivity of the matrix. With ISO you'll be able to shoot in really dark areas without any additional light, or vice versa, you'll be able to lower your ISO value in the light areas to expose your frame correctly. But as in each camera you have operating range when everything with your picture will be good, and not operating range when your color is crashing, arising noises and other artifacts. The value which you need to use in each camera, or at least trying to near, is a native ISO. In each camera it is different. For example, for my a6400 it is 500, if I'm not mistaken. For 6500, 6600 and a7 III series it is also 500. But I'm not sure, it will be better for you to check it in the internet. And why it is important? Because exactly with this value your camera will be able to work in a maximum quality. It will be better color production, maximum dynamic range and minimal noises. But again, in my opinion, I think it is all about professional or nearly professional cameras with flat picture profiles and etc. with good dynamic range. If you have simple camera, you'll be better to use minimal ISO. And of course try not to increase it much, more than 500, 800 or especially 1000, because it will be noise and problems with color. If you use full frame it is much easier for you, because you have bigger matrix, you can get more light for your camera and increase more value of ISO. In my case with a6400 it is APS-C sensor. If I raise more than 800 or sometimes 1000 ISO, I instantly lose in sharpness, in the color, and that's all. Therefore I try to work in 500 or nearly this value. Great, we have adjusted all settings like I said before. For example, we shoot in 4K 25 FPS. Then we set shutter speed 50, aperture 3.2 because it is my next step after 2.8. But it is too much light on the frame. It is more than +1. Flawlessly indicator must be nearly 0, +03 or +07. Or the picture will be highlighted. You need to be focused on the subject of shooting. If it is human, navigate by skin tone. It must be no spotted and not darkened. And of course don't forget about light on the whole frame as a whole. Okay, what we can do in this situation? The first and better decision would be, if it is possible of course, you need to adapt your environment to the camera. Adjust your light, make it more soft or vice versa stronger. Add additional lightnings and so on. Just work with your location of shooting, it is your territory. The second, if you have extra money or you want to spend more money for creation, filmmaking, or it is your work, you definitely need to buy variable ND filter. I am pretty sure that you had heard about it. It is very convenient and useful thing, but only quality and as a rule expensively. Cause I had cheap ND filters until $50, and yeah, they were working well, darkening picture as I needed, but in the same time I was losing in the color and sharpness. Unfortunately, I don't know which ND filter I could recommend you, because since that time I don't use ND filter at all. Because ND filter that I want, it is very expensive, and currently for me enough third way. If you can work only with your settings in a camera, you can't work with your environment, like outside, for instance, when sun is shining. You don't have ND filter, but you are a professional and you need to do your work perfectly, then you need to sacrifice something and say that you won't be shooting this place. Of course not, you need to sacrifice your aperture or ISO or shutter speed. If you enormously need beautiful bokeh, then you should sacrifice your ISO and shutter speed. Yes, your movements in the frame won't be so cinematography with the necessary motion blur in it, but you will get a nice cinematography picture in general. Or vice versa, if it is general plan bokeh not important at all, then close your aperture and save your shutter speed and native ISO. Yeah, it might be not comfortable at first time, but I am assuring you that after several shooting days it will be simple daily task for you. Or buy anti-filter and you will twist only your ring on variable filter, it is much comfortable and better. About light meter I am not going to tell you because it is another additional tool which you can buy, blah 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 blah, but trust me, all of this will be more than enough for anyone and for you. I really hope that everything was clear, useful and what is more important, interesting. And if it was, make sure to give this video a like, please subscribe and see you on the next videos. Action!
Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headaches stack. Restlessness to hell and back. What's my purpose? What do I grab? A slippery surface, a heart attack.